I guess okay, then let's just settle this with this one.
Okay.
Would you argue that a good monarchy is worse than a good republic?
I'd still, Chris.
I think chapter 8 is where you might get some interesting commentary from Andrew.
Which one is this? Because I've already skipped out on commentary for some of them that I was going to go back to later.
Well, this is the one where he has the historical retelling office, where he talks about in most democracies, citizens are actually seen as the enemy of the government.
Oh,
and that's kind of a growing. What's the right word for this? I guess when you're politicians, and this goes right along with your, what's that number you always talk about?
Dunbar's number.
Dunbar's number. I feel like this is an automatic discussion on Dunbar's number because
a little bit.
The government is against the people because the government doesn't know the people. They know the lobbyists and the money and the changing of hands in political office. They know these things. They don't know you. They don't know me. I mean, they might know some of us, but they don't personally know us.
Okay, this is one of these chapters where I kind of hate it.
And I know you don't like his love of Christendom, but I do think his historical retelling office is relevant. It's just relevant.
Okay, no, but I don't.
Different way.
Okay, one, I don't like his comment about how it's like they believe that they have more freedom under their current regimes than they did under the former. Okay, one, peak freedom. Peak freedom isn't the former regime that he was claiming. It was the original regime of this current regime. That's the current.
Inherently, any constitutional republic set up like the American Republic will start out with a lot of freedom. Unfortunately, the way that the country has gone, we have a lot less freedom now than we should.
One, yes, we have a lot less than we should. But I would make the comment that we have a hell of a lot more freedom than they had at previous points in history still. It's about perspective, because when you think of freedom, okay, things that are dictated. Well, things aren't inherently just dictated by government. They're also dictated by the technology and resources available to you at the time. So if you're looking at it purely from a government perspective, sure, there's rules that we have today that never existed in the past. But a lot of those rules are down to the fact that we have a lot of options and capabilities that never existed before.
I would argue they probably had more privacy too, though, back then. That you generally would not have people snooping around your house or
no, that's a bold-faced lie. You did not have privacy. You had no right to privacy, Chris. If someone wanted to accuse you of a crime, the sheriff could come into your house and investigate every single thing and do a full sweep of your house without.
Okay, but are you talking about United Kingdom or are you talking about the Roman Empire? Because those are two different things.
This guy right here is going back towards Christendom and monarchy. He comes off as a monarchist. In this specific letter, he comes off as a monarchist multiple times, and he comes off as being anti-republic.
I would say, though, that if you were to look at it from his perspective, because he lives in Canada, if he's living under the current regime in Canada, I think his points are a little more valid than if he's living in America.
I don't see how his current regime is any more tyrannical than a previous regime, if you were on the wrong side of it, was. Example being, okay, the shutting down of your bank accounts. Well, they could come in and just take everything from your property. At any moment they wanted to. Your house was theirs. Everything in it was theirs.
I guess okay, then let's just settle this with this one.
Okay.
Would you argue that a good monarchy is worse than a good republic? or would they be about equivalent?
A good monarchy versus a good republic. I mean, those are very different.
They're very different structures of government, but if you had a good king versus if you have a good republic. Because a good king will bring about a lot of prosperity for a lot of people.
No, not in the same way. A good republic would inherently be better because the good republic is inherently limited already in what it can do. The problem is with the thing is, in practice, they should be doing the same thing per Machiavelli's The Prince. So,
You think they'd be equivalent? I think your
well,
biggest concern is there's too much power in one hand, and it's quicker to deteriorate a monarchy than it is to deteriorate a republic. Is that your argument?
yes, you're also, it's tough because you're talking about the ideal behavior of both. The ideal behavior of government is the same no matter what. You have to ask about the risks and
And
the
you think there's
thing.
more risks with a monarchy than a republic?
There's more risk with a monarchy because the decisions are down to one person and their pride. So it's far easier for it to deteriorate with the monarch when he's insulted or he gets a vanity project because he's trying to impress a specific woman and starts taxing people a certain way. Or he wants to be loved by the people, so he spends money a certain way for that instead of doing the prudent thing. Whereas a republic has a better structure at preventing the fancies of one person.
Fair enough.
We're talking about when it's ideal, right? So that's what the chances for error are less.
Yeah, fair enough. I would argue. I think that a good monarchy, because if you had a good king, I think a good king is better than a good republic. You get more stuff done. But I would agree with you that the risks of a good monarchy turning bad are probably higher.
I mean, I'll say this. I think you're biased because in this perspective because you're thinking of it from how our system is currently set up. Generally speaking, with our specific term limits, but in a good republic, you would have a lot of local delegation. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing that would say that you can't have longer terms of election for the people that are in the local jurisdiction. Like, there's nothing that would stop you from saying this person can be elected for life until the people say they want to unelect him. Like, you could do that method still. It's just that it's not a hereditary title. And it can be, you can have what's the word? I'm blanking right now. Like you could basically have what's equivalently a recall election for an individual at any time you want it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's nothing that prevents you from being creative on the local jurisdiction without making the top all powerful, because certain local levels and areas will get ignored by the top to subsidize others.